Recent Democratic National Committee chairman candidate, as well as South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, did a meet and greet at the beer garden in Hoboken last night where he talked about the state of the Democratic Party, President Donald Trump, and the possibility of U.S. Senator Cory Booker being a presidential candidate in 2020. An openly gay U.S. Navy veteran who took office in 2012, Buttigieg addressed a crowd of a couple dozen people at the Pilsner House and Beer Garden in Hoboken, beginning by speaking about the current state of the Democratic Party.
You know, the main thing that's on my mind right now is making sure that we are a party that can explain what it is that we're for and what it is that holds us together. Because when I was in Washington the other day, it felt like the energy there was nothing but anti-Trump. And nobody's more anti-Trump than I am, and I imagine that all of us are. But that's not a theme, that's not a message. And where I'm from, a lot of people still can't hear us until or unless we're talking about them. And there are a lot of voters who, as we're talking about the president, are asking who's talking about me. And I think we have a moment as promises are being broken right and left, as a lot of the energy is starting to turn out to have been misdirected. We have a moment to retake our rightful place as people who care about regular people. But the challenge is going to be to break through an awful lot of noise, an awful lot of distraction, and make sure that we actually recenter our politics around that.
He also said that this is the most unstable time for both political parties since World War II, stating that it is possible that both parties could regress to what they believed in back in the 1950s.
We just have this moment, we're on this knife edge, I think, where if we're not careful, we could see both parties drift into a realm where we don't want to be part of either one. If you think about the way it was in the 1950s, the Republican Party was a party that was socially progressive, forward-looking on a lot of issues, and also always did what was right for the elite and the most well-off. And the Democratic Party was a party that was reliably in favor of the working person and the farmer, and was also the party where most racist and nativist elements found their home. We do not and cannot allow that to become the political configuration that we live in. This is the most unstable time for party politics since World War II.
Taking questions from the crowd, Buttigieg gave his take on Vice President Mike Pence, a former Indiana governor, taking over if President Donald Trump were to leave office early for any reason.
Mike Pence was actually in South Bend yesterday. Conveniently, I was out of town, so I didn't have to deal with the awkwardness of a tarmac photo. But what you see is kind of what you get. I mean, I worked with Mike on a lot of economic development stuff. If you met him, you would think this is a really nice guy, and he is. But he is fanatically focused on social issues, and in the worst way. It's almost like a moth to a flame. He knows better, I think, and yet he couldn't stop himself from pulling the state into what became very embarrassing and divisive attacks on the LGBT community. The other thing I think that's important to know about him is that he's not the puppet master or the if anybody thinks like he's, conniving and like executing some master plan, like you need to understand how bumbling his administration was in Indiana. They were not effective, they were not well respected, and they were not efficient. So when you think about the possibility that he could be in the Oval Office before 2020, I guess I would say watch out, because you're going to get an administration that's not very capable, and an administration that sincerely believes, and he's written about these things, that cigarettes don't kill people, climate change is a hoax, people get up in the morning one day and decide to be gay. That's just how he thinks the world works.
When Hudson County View asked what he thought about the possibility of Booker running for president in 2020, Buttigieg said it was too early to predict, but said there are plenty of capable candidates waiting in the wings. So here in New Jersey, as I'm sure you're well aware, a lot of people are already talking about the prospect of U.S. Senator Cory Booker for president in 2020. What's your thought about that possibility?
Well, I've always appreciated Cory and any mayor who goes on to state and federal government, because I think mayors have an intuition about how to serve people. So I have no idea, what the 2020 field is really going to look like. And my most recent interactions with your senator had to do with the Notre Dame-Stanford football rivalry. I managed to get some saltwater taffy out of him on a sports bet. But what I will say is that for some reason it's become fashionable to say, like, oh, we don't have a bench in the Democratic Party. I think that's crazy. Like, there are people at every level and at all ages, and I think in many ways, one of the silver linings on the last election results is it's uncorked a lot of energy and allowed a lot of leaders to rise up or to become more visible. I think that's a really healthy thing. And, whether we're talking about 2018 or 2020 or beyond, I think the talent's absolutely there. It's not that there's anything wrong with the people on the bench. We just haven't got the people who are on the bench, off the bench, invited them on the court, and got them to actually play the game.
I'm John Heides with the Hudson County View, the eye of the community.